Good to have you again on the ABSA Roundtable on Sustainability in Business. It's part of the 2024 edition of the City Business Festival. It is already conversations on how businesses can ensure sustainability in their operations. Again, with another insightful conversation which happens to about environmental and social risk to ensure profitability in business. And we are having this conversation not at any better time than today, which happens to be World Environment Day. My name is Neil Lati. Thank you for joining us. In studio with me today we have Yusuf Tete. Yusuf Tete is the head corporate and investment banking sanctioning as well as the environmental and social risk officer at ABSA. Yusuf, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Next to me on my right is Kobna Otu-Okain, environmental specialist at the World Bank. Kobna, welcome to the show as well.
Thank you.
In my introduction, I said it's World Environment Day.
World Environment
So
Day.
I don't know for me to say Happy World Environment Day to Yusuf and Kobna.
Happy World Environment Day.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Because I'm leading the conversation today, so I'm taking it.
Yes.
And what's the theme for this year's celebration?
Land restoration, desertification, and drought resilience.
Theme for this year's discussion. But over the years, I want to begin with you because you are from the World Bank. I'll come to you, Yusuf. You are an environmental specialist. Just 1 minute, tell us about the World Environment Day and what it means to, the entire population in the world.
Great. So this came about because there was concern and there was heightened, let me use the word concern again, heightened concern for the way the world was going in terms of how we were becoming very poor managers of our resources, and the fact that to a large extent, most of the issues that we were beginning to experience as human beings, as other forms of life, I mean, of course, that we know how we have around us, we realized that it was impacting on us quite adversely. So it became important that we create awareness on the situation of our environment and also to call for action. So basically that's how come we celebrate World Environment Day.
And so these challenges with the environment are now trickling down to businesses. And that's why I want to bring in Yusuf. So Yusuf, we are talking about managing environmental and social risk to maximize profitability. In the last couple of days, we've been hearing environmental impact, environmental risk. Now we want to be more specific. What are the kinds of environmental and social risks that businesses are contending with these days?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Environmental and social risk are the negative impacts that business operations would have on the physical environment, be it the natural surroundings and the people within. So people who work within the organizations as well as the communities they operate in. So everything the business does that would have a negative or adverse impact on these two items is what we bring into the fold of environmental and social risk. It becomes important for an organization to be aware of this, mainly because once you are utilizing the resources in the environment and there is no way to replenish it back, or there is no way to ensure that you get it back to use in your business operations, you begin to lose revenue because you are unable to then sell more. Once again, if it has any impact on the people that are required to work within your organization, meaning over time, you don't get the right skills for people to work with you, people within your community are not up to the level to purchase your products, you begin to lose revenue and then you begin to lose profitability as well. So it becomes important for businesses to be aware that any negative impacts their operations have on the physical environment and the communities are what we tell them environmental and social risk.
So I see. So typically on a daily basis, when the reports are sent to you, what kind of environmental risk or issues, maybe you can add a social risk as well, that are presented to you, and maybe you can even add on in terms of the banking industry what it looks like.
So thank you for that as well. So when we get a credit application for a customer we are going through and we are assessing for environmental and social risk, we are looking out for things that they will do that will cause maybe pollution in the air. So either air, noise pollution. We are looking at how they are disposing of waste, Because if they are toxic waste and you just dispose into the environment, you will cause problems that will cause diseases as well. We look at how they are treating the people they work with in terms of providing fair wages. We look at how they are engaging the communities within which they operate. So are there grievance mechanisms for communities to bring up issues where they feel the operations of the business is having an impact? Maybe there is noise pollution. Are there grievance mechanisms for the community to do that? So we look at all those risks, be the physical or the human side of it when we are looking at credit applications.
But is it just on the external side? Internally, what do you also look out for as an organization, especially with the social part? Are we talking about fair working conditions? Are we looking at social or tribal or even racial injustice? Those kind of issues, do they also come to play?
Yes, so within the banking sector, right, we have what you call the being diverse. So ensuring that your race, your tribe, your religion, your sex does not impact the opportunities you get. So then again, we extend that to our customers also, just to ensure they're incorporating proper governance structures within the businesses they operate, just to ensure that they do not undertake activities or have policies that impact human life or human existence within the organization, same as within the bank as well. And when you come to within the bank, when we are looking at it from a physical aspect or social relation, it's important we engage the communities we operate in very well, because we only exist for the community. That is where we get the resources to operate within the bank, and that is where we sell our products to. So engagement with the communities become relevant to ensure that whatever we are doing is in interaction with the communities.
I see. And so, Kobina, speak to me on this particular bit of the whole conversation. What is it like when it comes to the assessments? My previous or relevant previous knowledge will always fall on environmental impact assessment. I don't know if it also works in businesses, that you go out there, survey the environment, what are the threats, what are the opportunities, and you see how you manage. Is it the same case when it comes to businesses?
In fact, I think it's good to know that I'm talking to someone who already is ahead of the curve.
Oh,
so the ESIA, which is usually how it's referred to by the multilateral donor agencies, or in Ghana, we define environment to cover social. So in Ghana, we would normally have what we call an EI, environmental impact assessment. It is just one of the several tools that's available to us to help us understand the environmental and social risks that may be associated with a proposed undertaking or an existing operation. So in terms of the discussions we have, and I mean, I dare say that most of the entities that actually get EPA permits issued to them are mostly businesses. So we may have learned about EIA as a tool on its own without looking at who is actually applying the tool. So already there's some kind of integration that has already happened. It's businesses mostly, and of course government. Government agencies do this a lot, especially when they are required to comply with international requirements and be able to sign on to particular loans. But what we're talking about is actually so relevant to businesses, and in the past has actually been applied to businesses, but it is only just one tool, right? Because the EIA is more detailed. It's an iterative process that, you know, consistently or systematically looks at the features of a proposed undertaking or an operation, sort of superimposes, you know, those features on the existing environmental and social baseline conditions, and sort of does some kind of an assessment or a prediction to see what could be the significant issues. And then we move to the level where we are putting together a plan to provide adequate measures to, you know, sort of manage those issues. Then there's a bit of monitoring and all of that. There are several other tools that exist, and I'm sure in our subsequent conversations we'll have opportunity to talk about those other tools. But, you know, let me step down a bit to the level of most of the businesses that we have. We are in an economy where most of our businesses may not undertake activities that require environmental permitting and may therefore not come under the eye or the eagle eye of the EPA. But there are other internal tools. You basically need to understand your industry. You need to understand what your footprints are. And within those footprints, there is a tool that enables you to, you know, identify those key issues and be able to mitigate them. Hopefully we'll get to look at them into
I'll
more
come
detail.
to you briefly. I
Sure.
want us to look at the flip side of it. How
Right.
do customers also identify a company that is environmentally or socially friendly or responsible?
Great.
But you see, let's talk about the risk or the strategy when it comes to ABSA. How do you incorporate all of these things in your strategy at the management level? And if you are able to add how it impacts your profitability or your financial performance?
Thank you. So at ABSA, we have a comprehensive environmental and social management system, which provides guidelines on how we deal with environmental and social practices. In our lending activities, we go through a thorough ENS assessment of every transaction, applying the International Finance Corporation Environmental Performance Standards, as well as the World Bank Environmental Standard as well. Then we don't forget the local regulations. They are key to whatever we do. In everything we do, once the local regulation is stricter, we go by the local regulation. So both the IFC performance standards and the local regulations are key to doing any assessment within the ABSA framework. So we do have an overarching sustainability policy supported by an environmental and social management system which guides our operations. In terms of profitability, so key to a bank is selling loans. So we sell money, right? And when we sell money, the expectation is it will come back to us. If we are lending to businesses that are in where you call environmental and sensitive sectors, and they do not ascribe to some of these principles, it means that in the long term, their operations might be stopped.
Yeah.
Legal or the other things will come through. Customers will lose preferences for companies who are not adhering to environmental issues, and then the company stops operations, and then we are not paid. In the banking as well, we take properties as collateral, and then we give money to people to buy properties as well. Where there are environmental issues, we would lose value on those assets, and then that impacts the bank as well. And then again, from a regulatory perspective, regulations and legals are coming in every day around ENS. If we are not compliant or we do not sort of align with the times, we'll get to a point where maybe our license will be revoked because we are not complying with some of those things.
And so that's how the dynamics play there. But Kobina, I'm wrapping up with you.
Okay.
My first question to you, how customers can identify a company that is environmentally or socially responsible. But if you are able to identify the risk, I'm sure we can also mitigate it.
Exactly.
How do we do that?
So let's look at it this way. I think the truth of the matter is that, especially in our part of the world, it's difficult to really tell which companies are being sustainable in their practices, because we are not at that level where you can necessarily look out for green labels, look out for the green credentials of a company and all of that. So how would I do it as a normal customer? So as a customer, right? I know one of the things that you see make mention of is the compliance with local requirements or national statutory requirements. So for a company that produces a particular thing I like to buy, I'm looking out for the easy things. What's the FDA label? So some of these things that we hear about actually all fit into this whole discussion. So the easy things to look out for the FDA label, to look out for GSA certification, to look out for some of these basic things that we already somehow do, but we may not know that it's already fit into the bigger context of sustainability and how to mitigate some of these risks. So in terms of mitigating, I know we don't have much time, but in terms of mitigating the risks, companies must be able to understand their own risk profile. Just as any big institution would do, every company must be able to identify those issues. They must understand their context, they must understand their industry, because some issues are more industry specific than others, and depending on which industry you find in, a particular risk may be weightier than another. So there's this whole discussion about materiality. So all these things are things that local companies should be ascribing to or subscribing to, and that's why we have a lot of professionals around who are not getting work to do. So let's engage them. Engage the environmental professionals.
They'll follow you, don't worry.
Unfortunately, I may not be able to support everybody, but I'm just saying that just as we always do for most professional groupings, there are very qualified people here who understand what they're about, they understand what it is to look out for, and get you to move to a level where you are sustainable, you are attractive, you can bring in more dollars.
All right, thank you very much, Kobina, but that's what time will allow us for this particular round. And we have been talking to I have been talking to Yusuf Tete, Head Corporate and Investment Banking Sanctioning and Environmental and Social Risk Officer, as well as Kobna Otuokai, Environmental Specialist at the World Bank. This has been the ABSA Roundtable on Sustainability in Business. We have been talking about how we can manage environmental and social risk to maximize profitability. This has been the show. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Ni Latte.